Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, is Logan. How are you, Logan?
Living the dream, man. Every day, living the dream, as we would all say, probably. But I'm doing all right, Jordan. How you doing?
Good, I guess. I'm still coming over a cold that getting over, not not coming over, getting over a cold. That kind of pulled me out of commission last week. That's why there was no episode last week. Um, it was just really tough. I'm still coughing.
There it is.
Yeah, didn't get to the mute button in time. But yeah, no, I think it's like I think I have some sort of bronchitis, but not enough where I need antibiotics yet or something. So just hoping it doesn't get worse. I'm starting to feel a little better since they gave me like this cough syrup and told me to use the stronger Mucinex. So since then it's been getting a little better. But I've had to go to the doctors like 3 times in the last month because of my foot, and then twice for the sickness. Like,
I was gonna say, man, you're in there more in the fit than some of the players in the physio rooms.
yeah,
Like,
I usually, and that's the thing, I usually don't have to go to the urgent care. I usually don't have to go to the doctors. But this
you're
is
getting
probably
your
the
fix in.
sickest. This is probably the sickest I've been in quite a while, honestly. Like full
Yeah.
body fatigue. Like I really thought it was COVID. And then they tested me for it, and I didn't have it because it kind of felt very similar to when I had it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, knock on wood. I'm not typically one to go under the weather. So it's
I
always
can't. I
been.
can't even blame the kid because it's not like he's at school or anything where he's getting this stuff. He's at home. So
That's
I
a good
probably
point.
got it when I was in office one day or something and brought it home. And now they're starting to deal with it. So
Maybe stop licking keyboards.
damn, you know what? I never thought of that. That is a good point. Thank you
I
for
know.
that.
I know. Yeah. You told me about that. I thought it was kind of weird, but
Yeah. No, and that's everybody at work always stares at me when I do it too. So maybe it's just not something we're supposed to do.
jeez.
All right, we're talking MLS Leagues Cup is getting ready to have their quarterfinalists coming up here. Is that today, midweek?
Yeah. Midweek, baby. We love midweek games here on this channel.
Oh yeah, we do. I was watching. So we have. Oh, not
Tomorrow.
tonight. Tomorrow. Yeah, we have Miami and Tigres, Toluca, Orlando, Seattle, Puebla, LA Galaxy versus Pachuca. So those are your quarterfinal teams. 8 o'clock, 8:50, 11 o'clock, 11:45.
So early starts on those.
Yeah, yeah. What and we have the Miami and Seattle games are on FS1 as well. So that's cool. I guess 8 o'clock at 11 o'clock. Some killer start time with the 11:45 is like, sorry, probably not making it to that one tomorrow night. Especially because Thursday we have my wife and I have to go in office for our like work party thing. So I don't think I'm staying up till 1:45 a.m. to watch the end of that game.
Why not? That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, stay up that late and then wake up at like 6 o'clock to go in office would be a blast, honestly.
Oh man, so you have a late night and then you go into office. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, that would be great. So no, I'm not going to do that. Not going to do that. So I'll probably only be watching the Miami Tigres, Orlando Toluca throughout the day, and then kind of wake up and see what happened with Seattle Puebla. Maybe start that one and then go to sleep. I still go to bed around midnight or 12:30, so I can get a little bit into some of these games. But yeah, we didn't have a chance to really cover the end of Leagues Cup and what teams have moved on. So those are your 4 U.S. teams that moved on. We had 2 Florida teams and 2 West Coast teams here, Seattle, LA. LA, that's pretty cool for them because they had been really struggling in the season so far. Otherwise, it's teams that have been really good. Seattle's been coming back, right? Orlando is now climbing the table again. Miami is up there. Like all of these teams are in the, let's see, Orlando's fourth, Miami's fifth, right? So that's great. Seattle is fourth, and then LA Galaxy's the only one that's really not in that top, but they are the one that won it all last year. So they are a good quality side. Just really had some injury issues and just other issues that weren't panning out at the beginning of the year. So I'll ask you, Logan, out of these teams, MLS teams, which one of these teams do you give the biggest or best chance to win Leagues Cup to keep MLS being the only league that has won this tournament?
Oh man. I mean, I think big question marks are around Messi. I know he came back and played this weekend, but he had some lingering issues with that leg hamstring injury, and they were talking about him stretching it constantly, and then he didn't look quite right at times. Played well, but I think is still trying to manage that. And then midweek games, man, like this is tough because you get into a situation where a lot of these MLS teams, I mean, if you look at the rest of the season, they've got, 7 games left. And I think it's going to be difficult to try to balance that for somebody like Messi. I'm interested to see what Miami can do. And they go up against a very good Tigres team who I would say is one of the favorites to win this whole thing. Seattle, like you said, is playing well. It shocks me that Galaxy's hanging out there. I'm trying not to be a homer. Jordan is basically how I'm going at this, but Orlando City has won 4 straight. They look really confident in the way that they're playing. Fifth best team in MLS right now. Eastern Conference is top heavy, and they've performed pretty well recently. Gone through the League's Cup and have played really good teams and beaten good teams. Playing at home, I think that's an advantage too for Orlando City. Um, I do. I think they didn't really get a huge draw there. I think they're the best chance as far as maybe MLS teams. I will say the Seattle side, I think just because Tigres isn't sitting there, maybe that's the tougher side. So maybe Orlando has a harder time getting through Tigres. But again, like I said, I don't know. Seattle, I'm not totally convinced that they can win the whole thing. LA Galaxy again, it's really hard for me to put any kind of stock into what they're doing just based off of how they played this season. I know that they've started to play a little bit better, but they're just not there yet. They've really struggled in league still, on the worst teams. So again, I think I'd give it to Orlando City right now. Like I feel like that they're riding high right now, and I think that they've got a good chance to maybe go up against Tigres once again in a competition. So we'll see how that goes. Probably not well, but that's who I'd give the best shot to.
Orlando's a team that I feel like is always going through something. They're either going through a stretch where they're not winning or a stretch where they're winning,
Yeah,
and it seems like it's like
it's a
that
roller
every year.
coaster. Yep.
Where you're like, man,
Start slow, play
they haven't
well.
won in a while,
Yeah.
or they haven't scored in a while, and it's like, boom, we're back, baby.
Yes.
Now they're at 47 points right now. How many games is that? 27. Okay. 34 games played last year, which means that there's seven games left. Do you know how many points they finished with last year?
They finished with like 49.
52. So
Yeah.
they are already just 5 points behind where they were last year with 7 games to go. You would think averaging, let's say they average a point per game, but they actually average 1.74 points per game. That they should pass last year's total. Last year, that was enough for them to be in the top 4. They're tied with Nashville with 47 right now. So theoretically, if they do what they need to do, probably a third or fourth place locking it up if they get more than 52, which is what they're on pace for right now. So, um, let's see, 1.74 times 7 is, that means if they average 1.74 points per game this season, that means they would get 12 more points to 47, which means they would finish with 59, which actually of last year would have been enough for third place, which is what Cincy had. So right now, if you're going off like last year's table, you're looking at a third place finish, which would be not bad, especially after they kind of had a, they seemingly always have the stretches where things are going different. I think 2023 was their best season, right? That was 63 points.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do more than the 1.74 points per game, they could theoretically get higher than 63, which I think is one of their best finishes ever. I believe we talked about on the podcast. That's what I'm trying to figure out. The time that they had the most points. I feel like it was 2023. That they finished second that year. I can't imagine them having more points but finishing lower. Yeah, then they had 48 points back in 2022. And then 2021, that was a weird season because of the COVID stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They finished with 51 points. So yeah, they kind of always finish around that 49 to 52, but right now they're already at 47, so that's got to feel pretty good. No, I think you're right. I think Orlando has a really good shot. They're just kind of that team, I feel like, that always squeaks under the radar because they don't have those superstar players.
Right. Yep.
Not that Seattle really does anymore either, I guess, but they have the history of winning stuff
legends,
that Orlando doesn't have, right?
Yep.
Orlando has that, Open Cup win, and that's it. So needing to build off of that, yeah, I mean, it'd be huge if they could pull out something here against Toluca, and hopefully, I don't know, what would you hope for after how well they played against Miami, that Miami beats Tigres, and then you have a matchup against Miami? Is that what the hope would be?
That's tough.
Because Tigres, when you guys played them, didn't you guys play them?
Yeah, it didn't
last
go
year?
well. Yeah,
Did not go well.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, and I think you don't wish this on anybody, but like you're banking on the fact that maybe Messi's not fully 100%, right? So if they can somehow pull out a win, which is very possible because all these are played on home turf for the MLS teams, I feel that Miami could definitely knock off Tigres, and then it would be more difficult, I think, for Orlando to beat Tigres. I don't know. Like the Mexican Giants, whenever you play the Mexican Giants, like they have such deep squads, Jordan, that it's hard to like want to ever play against them, just because they tend to go deeper into these tournaments. But it would mean a lot to Orlando City, like you said, the Open Cup, winning that. Their second biggest thing, I think, whenever people play like Orlando City highlights, that the Rodrigo Schlegel had to go into goal.
Yes,
to
against
play.
NYCFC.
That's serious. Like that's like their second biggest moment that they've ever had.
The Schlegel bagel. Yes.
Yeah, right. So besides the inaugural game against NYCFC, I mean, there's not many big milestone moments that Orlando City have had. I mean, they've got exciting players. They've had exciting players. They've had Nani, they've had Kaká, but like it was never, like you said, they don't really have that run of legends, right? They don't really have the MLS lifer. They don't really have the big time striker, the all around.
You know what they have? They have churn, which is where it feels like it's a new team almost every 2 years,
right?
Where
there
good, isn't a lot of consistency,
right? And they're decent, and I think seriously, like Oscar Pareja might be their biggest acquisition they've ever had. Like I'm starting to think that might be a true.
Like, remember Nani being on the team?
Yeah, it's weird. Like it's
crazy. It's not that long ago.
Like, and then you go after like the Wonder Kids that were once Wonderkins, like Pato, and it's a really weird.
Yeah, I forgot Pato was on the team. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's just like team. This constant churn of players. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. Or it's like, I don't know, like new manager comes in, changes stuff,
Yeah.
or whatever. It's just kind of been that type of that type of thing. I feel like the defense is probably the thing that has stayed the most consistent
Yeah.
for a while. When you're
And
talking about like
Galace's,
Janssen and
yeah.
Galese and Schlegel
Schlegel's
being
been
on
there
the team,
forever.
they've
Yeah.
been there for a while. But I feel like it's like the midfield and the strikers are constantly changing. Remember
Yeah.
DK was on the team? Like that
Right.
was a while ago.
Mauricio Pereira. I mean,
Yeah.
Junior Urso. You go through these spells with Orlando City. And it's funny that you said like inconsistency. So I was going through the form guide because you're right. Like they always start really poorly.
Mhm.
And they did 4 wins in their first 12 matches. And then after that, they don't lose a game for 5 straight games. They win 3 of those. And then they lose 2 straight. And then they win 2 straight. And then they go 4 without a win. And now they're 4 straight wins. So
Very
it's
consistently
this.
inconsistent. Yeah, that's what.
Yes. Like if, and then I look at the Union, it's like win 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 tie, win win tie,
Right,
win
right,
tie,
right.
win win, and then 2 losses somewhere randomly, win win. It's like that's consistent pattern. It's like, okay, you go 3 wins, 4 wins, you
Right.
draw a couple, and then you lose. Orlando City's like win lose tie, win lose tie. It's like, oh my gosh, it's a horrible ride.
Well, one
But
of the most interesting things I think about this season is the supporter shield battle.
yeah,
Where do we draw the line on that? Is it just the top three, San Diego, Cincy, Philly? Or can like a Nashville, Orlando, Minnesota, Vancouver sneak into their conversation? Because you got San Diego with 52, Cincinnati with 52, Philly with 51, and then it's a 4-point drop down in Nashville and Orlando. And
right,
we've got 7 games left. 4 points is not a lot, right? And it's 5 points for them actually for Nashville and Orlando to get even with Cincy and San Diego. But when you're talking about these teams are averaging about 1 point, more than 1.5 points per game, 7 games left. Like I said, you get 12 points in 7 games. There's a 5 point difference. It seems like that is starting to. You're going to need some of those teams to really underperform. You're going to need some of those teams to really overperform. I'm almost thinking this supporter shield is down to these 3 teams. I do think mathematically the teams with 47 and below are still technically in it. But when you have just 7 games left and you're talking about a team like Orlando that's very inconsistent at times, Nashville's inconsistent at times. When I look at the teams that are the most consistent, it is those San Diego, Cincy, Philly. So I'm almost leaning towards those three, it being the battle between those 3 teams. Vancouver is sadly really fallen off. They do
yeah.
get Thomas Mueller now, but I almost think that's almost more of a hopefully get comfortable for the rest of the season, and we're going to need you for the playoffs. And hopefully they take off in the playoffs with Thomas Mueller. I don't think he's going to really boost them in the sense of um, supporter shield chances at this point because they have dropped off so much. But I don't know, like what's your vibe going into? Does it matter at all that teams like Cincy and Philly have won supporter shields in the past while San Diego hasn't? Because I don't, like we've seen like St. Louis win them with no problem before. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that really you need like experience for, but I don't know. Your thoughts on this supporter shield race?
Yeah, Miami's in striking distance because they've only played 24 games.
Yeah, they get a couple extra
So yeah,
shots.
they're still mathematically they're the fourth best team points per game. Um, but that being said, I think you have the caveat of how healthy can Miami be, and at this point, Jordan, like they do have 10 games left compared to most have 7, but they also have Leagues Cup, and I could see them beating Tigres if Messi does play and is healthy or plays enough maybe he pushes them over the top. They're a team that I think can beat that Giant, but then you start to get into the crunch, the number crunch, and we've talked about this multiple times. Whether Jordy's going to play, Busquets and them are going to play. You start to do that mathematical game of like, all right, do we rest them, play them midweek? Do we not play them midweek? I mean, I can't imagine with Messi's injury concerns that he's going to play in midweek and then play again the weekend. But he's not somebody you're going to tell no. Yeah, I don't care how much Mascherano knows him or has played with him in the past, but I don't know. It's just I don't know if Miami can get back in it. So I guess to answer your question, long-winded, but yeah, like I think those three teams are the cutoff right now. I would have to be promised that Messi was going to play for me to throw them back into the ring, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
You don't see any way for Orlando to do that. Do you even want them to really push for that at this point, or is it like what? Like as an Orlando fan, what would you prefer? Like Supporter Shield, Leagues Cup, or like not
That's
push
tough.
for either of those and try to get MLS Cup? Like what's your thought process?
And I know some people might be jumping into this league this is the first year, or they might be listening to this for the first time, and listening to like, how MLS teams really weigh certain competitions. And ultimately what it sounds like is that MLS Cup is always going to be number one. And then I honestly would think at this point, I would say being a Leagues Cup champion against the Mexican Giants would be really high up there with Supporter Shield. I know they'll put a lot of stock. The team that wins Supporter Shield are always going to come out and say that it's a very important thing that they won Supporter Shield. But at the end of the day, what does it actually mean? It just means you got the number one seed. Like, could you imagine if they did this in other sports? Like, could you imagine when they,
Well, I wish they did, honestly. I mean,
give the Brewers the silver bat? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like,
yeah, I think
you know what I
would
mean?
I think it'd be really cool. If we
But if a one
celebrated
seed gets beat, like they're not like, oh yeah, we had the one seed though.
No, but like we kind of already do that with celebrating division wins and everything.
Yeah.
Which is even lesser than celebrating the one seed, really. I do think what I love about soccer and all these cups is that there are multiple chances throughout the season for your team to win something. Now, will it be as high as a win as like winning MLS Cup? No, I can tell you that because my team has won Supporters Cup and lost MLS Cup, and I'll tell you which one hurt more than felt better. And like the sense is losing MLS Cup sucked more than winning that Supporter Shield the year or two before. But I guess in my mind is sports. I kind of hate this mentality recently. This was not planned as a topic, so I guess slight tangent here. I do think almost like NBA culture is starting to permeate throughout all of sports. And what I mean by that is the rings culture where people constantly ask, well, who has the ring? And then saying that almost immediately has them have a better career than players that don't have a ring.
That's a good point.
And I feel like we kind of get with that sometimes when teams will make fun of the one seed for losing. And it's like, no, they were still the best team in the regular season. That's still an accomplishment. Like when I look back at some of it, like the Orioles winning 101 games, I'd never seen that in my life. That is still a very like cherished moment for me. But did it lead to anything? No, like another team celebrated at the end, but I still have a lot of fond memories of that season. It wasn't all for naught is my main point. And I do think it'd be cool if other sports did celebrate that at times where it's like, hey, we had the best record in the major leagues or whatever. Like put a banner up like that. You can give it a cool name. Like it's like you said, Silver Bat. I think it's a little too close to Silver Slugger, but if you're like the almost instead of like the shield, it's like the bronze plate, and it's like home plate, and it's bronze, right. And they're like, and they're lifting up this. Imagine that they're lifting like a bronze home plate above their head. They're like, yeah, that would be cool. That would be really cool at the end of the season. Um, Maybe we should make that a supporters plate where we pass these around in baseball. But you know, I do think that is very damn. I do think that is very cool. Um, it just may not rank like obviously winning a World Series is still better. So like in my opinion, the way that it probably goes is MLS Cup number one out of like if I'm ranking Orlando's chances, right? I would say, well, it is tough. I think this season MLS Cup means more than Leagues Cup because of the changes Leagues Cup has had. I would say that there will be people that probably clown on this is another thing that people do all the time. The winner of this Leagues Cup because of the format change. Being like, that wasn't the real Leagues Cup. Not everybody partook in it, and it's a Mickey Mouse Leagues Cup. Like there will be people that'll probably say that about it. Or the weird format with the two leagues and how they are constantly like I do think there probably would be people that might not look at this one as meaning as much as like maybe the first two leagues cups. Most people already write this tournament off honestly as a cash grab, so you have that too. So I would say MLS Cup probably means more this season, and then I would go probably Leagues Cup and then Supporter Shield. Supporter Shield is really you just have the best record. I understand that's how they do it in the rest of the world, but the issue here is we do not have a balanced schedule. We have way more teams than can fit a balanced schedule. So the Supporter Shield is not like this end all be all. You were the best team. When Philly won it that year, they literally faced like the Revs like 3 or 4 times at the end of the season because of the COVID restrictions and how we could only play in like certain areas. So I do have questions at times of like, would they have won the Supporter Shield if they had had a balanced schedule that season? In my case, I don't think so. But, you know, that's how it works sometimes. And I still think it is important to kind of highlight that that accomplishment, I would say. But I don't think I would want if I'm Orlando to have my team pushing for Supporter Shield. I'm almost like push for that top 3 or 4. Let's get into the playoffs and then make the deep run in MLS Cup. That's probably what they're actually thinking too. I would think if you're asking.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm sure like on the record he would say we want to win every game.
Right.
If they win every game, they're probably Supporter Shield champions. But you know, I also think if you're like, hey, you're not going to win it. Like if you tell him in the future, like you're not going to win it, but you're going to win MLS Cup, he'd be like, that's the goal, right? Like, I think that's what most people would agree with.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about Miami a bit here. So Drake Callender is going to Charlotte. Kramashi complaining about playing time. People have brought up that maybe they don't really care about their American players as much as getting new stars, or I guess you would say Latin America stars, to get that market that's available to them. Do you think there's anything to it? Is there anything we should be worried about as Miami? I feel like Drake Callender was doing a good job. I'd seen some people think otherwise, I guess, but he never really stood out as like a real weak point for me the way that I guess he had to other people, and now I feel like it's good he's going to be able to move somewhere else and maybe get another chance. But I don't know, like what's your thoughts on the Miami and American stuff here? Because Kramashi used to play, but now of course they brought in new players and he's not playing as much.
Yeah, no, I mean it's funny because Kramashi's also dual national. Believe he's Argentinian. And
He is, yep.
I will say that he is full-fledged Argentinian. He just was, I think, born in the US, but speaks Spanish, I think, as his dominant
Yeah, I
language.
think his dad is Argentinian.
Yeah. So uh, he's been on the U.S. men's national team. I I think it's funny because if Argentina came in, Jordan, and offered Kramashi the chance to play for the Argentine team, he would have done that instead. So it's interesting to me that he's the one that's being vocal about it because he is a dual national. I guess I would understand it if Drake Callender had the issue, like, hey, I'm an American. I don't have the chance to do a dual national, like whatever it might be. Um, I just feel like to grow this league, they're going to have to bring in international players because, and again, I'm looking around at all the other teams, and I mean, I can't pinpoint one that has a ton of U.S. men's national team players. The one that comes to mind would be Colorado, but Um, I'm trying to think, like, every other team, maybe 1 or 2 sprinkled in, so it's not like, so I think him bringing this up is very weird. It's weird timing, he's not playing as much, they're bringing in all these younger players now that are international. Messi's recruiting other Argentinian young players to come in, and they're replacing Kramashi, who has probably been stuck behind these players at times. Drake Callender, while a good goalkeeper, kind of did fall off, they've replaced him, and I think he's got a better opportunity to play as he moves on. I don't know. I think there's just a lot to do about nothing because this inevitably is going to happen. I mean, it wasn't always going to be a bunch of U.S. players playing in MLS. We've seen what the quality of that could be based on the U.S. men's national team. But um, yeah, no, I don't make anything of this. I think it's a lot to do about nothing because the player's not happy that he's not playing.
To be fair to Benjamin Camacho, he never said it was due to his U.S. national. Um, he was just complaining frustration about not being able to play. Here's his quotes: "I'm frustrated. I want to play. I think the most important thing for me is to be at a very high level, and to get there, I need minutes and experience. I've played very little in these recent games, and I don't think it's because of my level. I go to the games, and I have no idea where I'm going to play." So then Mascherano was like, I understand he likes to play as a central midfielder. I also like to play as a central midfielder. When I went to Barcelona, I had to play a center back because otherwise I had no chance to play. The door to my office is always open for anyone who may be mad or doesn't want to play a certain position to come tell me. I haven't heard any complaints face to face. This is professional football. I decide where I think each player can give me their best. So Kramashi has played central midfield and both wings, while also filling in for left back Jordi Alba when he was suspended for skipping the All-Star game. Sports Illustrated says that his 1,298 minutes rank 10th among Inter Miami's roster, and he has 1 goal and 4 assists, while Sergio Busquets has no goals and 6 assists in over 2,000 minutes. So he's still kind of producing at a level equivalent to Sergio Busquets with 700 less minutes. So who knows? I do see that they have only 10 of their 29 roster spots are Americans. Julian Gressel is technically an American now, but he was also recently traded. So I don't even know if he's really part of the roster. He's still on FB Ref. But if we're looking at like their top American players, you're looking at Kramashi, Noah Allen, Ian Frey. That's it. Drake Callender's gone. We have some more youth players. We have William Yarborough, another goalkeeper, but he hasn't played. Everybody else I see on the American have played like less than 90 minutes. So I can kind of see what maybe American fans are thinking, but this is also just kind of how it works. Now, of course, I think MLS has more rules than your average league about how many domestic players you typically need and international roster spots and all that kind of stuff. But you can trade for those, and that's probably what they've been doing to accumulate the roster spots they want. But like look, there's been like Chelsea teams that are barely feature any English players, in the Premier League. That's going to happen as this league continues to get better and better and better. Now, I do think it's probably less an American issue and more of a. I mean, I do think they probably build the team wanting more international stars, international players, because of how big their market is in Miami and who's available in their market in Miami. Of, hey, let's lean into the Hispanic community that we have that follows us. I think that's understandable. So that might be a front office type thing, I guess you would say. But player wise, I don't think Mascherano is sitting Kermashi or playing him in different positions because he's American. I think that's more of a maybe he's not one of his type of players, while the other managers did like him type of situation. And I understand his frustration too, because I'm sure if he doesn't continue to get playing time, he's going to want to move. He's 20 years old. He probably wants to play at other opportunities. He probably wants to get those minutes to improve and get to another team. And I wouldn't be shocked if that's something that happens maybe in the offseason if Mascherano sticks around. If Mascherano is still manager next year, I could see some of these players that are maybe frustrated with playing time getting out of there. But yeah, most of their American players are like young youth guys, so they don't have like a Dax type of player. Okay. Now, Logan, you had wanted to bring up something, and I'm reminding you now.
It's a good
International
segue.
players.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, kind of what we were talking about.
It's a good segue into, I was watching the wrap up, just kind of catching back up on games and stuff that I hadn't quite seen. And Thomas Mueller played. He scores on an offside, so it's called back. And then I was watching Sun highlights and made a beautiful pass in on an assist. And I was thinking about this. So you and I have talked about this at length, and when both of them came over, you and I made sure to really dig into what it meant for the league with both of them coming over. I was just listening to a podcast that said that in behind Messi is now Son as far as kit sales, and how massive he is in the Asian market came up once again. I was listening, reading to a lot of things about how big it is that he is playing in arguably the biggest team in MLS, and the market that he is in, and a market that is heavily Asian. And I think that it's a role model type of situation that he is in a city where he represents so much more than just football, where there are kids growing up there that are Asian American, that are full Asian, that are coming over the United States for a new start. And they see players like Son playing in the United States now. And it got me thinking, because he was talking, and they interviewed Son after, and he was talking to Weeby, and he said that this is such a big moment for him that he wants to do right by not just Asians coming over to the US and playing soccer, because there haven't been these huge stars that have come over, right? We've talked about that, from the Asian continent. And he said this is really just kind of a bridge. And he's like number one or two when it comes to all time Asian players. And he opened up such a Pandora's box for so many Asian international players now. I think that, obviously there have been Chinese players, there have been Japanese players, there have been Korean players that have come over before, but nothing to the magnitude of that. You can compare him to if you're thinking about the Hispanic countries, you think about players that are Hispanic, you think of Messi, you think of Ronaldo, right? Now you've got a player that's come over from Asia that is of that ilk. And then now you topple that in with Thomas Mueller, who is one of the biggest German players to ever play. So now you've got a lot of European attention, because you obviously had that with Messi coming over. Fans of PSG or Barcelona are going to be like, oh yeah, I want to follow Messi still, and he's playing in Miami. I watched him play in Barcelona. Now you got Mueller. Jordan, we're starting to get bigger and bigger names. I mean, these are World Cup legends. These are Premier League legends. These are Liga. I mean, the list is going on and on. And while Insigne and them are exciting, while Zlatan is exciting, these dudes are like, they are seen as can walk on water type players. So I guess my question to you is that had MLS been getting maybe the B league. This is not the A team. This is more the B team. And now, Jordan, we're starting to get A team type players. Like we are starting, like obviously you had the ones that have come over, like Beckham and Rooney and all of them. But like Jordan, these guys are like, they are in a whole new era and a whole new generation of fandom where they're bringing in massive groups of players and teams and fans. So like my question is, do you think that this is the start of all these really big names coming over to MLS? Like, did he really start the avalanche of these huge greats coming over and coming over in bunches? Because I think it's so important that MLS gets not just guys that were legends in the European leagues and Asian leagues, but guys that like transcend, right? Those teams, those leagues, those histories. Because I feel like Son, Messi, and you can even kind of group Mueller into maybe that Rooney and Beckham type category. But like, do you feel like they started something where we're going to see pretty much all these big time stars come over the U.S.?
I think we kind of talked about it last time, but I do think without Messi, you might not get like Son and Mueller over here.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that we haven't had those type of players before. Like we said, we had Lampard, we had Gerrard
Yeah.
at the very end of their careers. Um, the the Son one is crazy because what Fanatics said that he
Yeah.
outsold every athlete,
Yes. Yes. Football,
not
basketball,
every
baseball,
sport,
all of them.
not just
Otani.
yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah. Well, like Asian. I think people said that there was a huge Asian following in LA.
Yep.
That when the Galaxy had an Asian player, Korean player, he sold well and had them at the stadium all the time too. And it wasn't even like a big player like
Right.
Sun is. So, now do those fans switch allegiances to LAFC? Yeah, probably. They probably are like, hey,
Right.
I want to
Oh,
go see
100%.
this legend.
And he's such a nice
Yeah.
guy. So it's like, yeah, might as well. So,
Yeah. So I do think that um I think it's only going to get better and better and better from here on out. I know we've been saying that about the league as a whole every year, but I do think Messi has opened the door. The way Beckham opened the door to get some of those other players over, but even then, it almost took a little bit longer between Beckham coming over and the rest of those stars coming over. While I think now we're kind of getting, it also helps that a lot of these big players like Mueller, Son, Messi are at that point in their career as well where they are coming over here. Um, I mean, look, we were linked to Griezmann and stuff too, and it felt like it was close for some of those players, like Luka Modric, right? It felt like it was very close for those players to come over too, which would have been insane as well. Um, De Bruyne, right, has been linked, and he went somewhere else as well. So it seems like we are so close to getting just more and more of that. Again, it helps with the stability of the league in the sense of some of these people used to go to Saudi Arabia or China, and they either had issues with the lifestyle there or would have issues with not getting paid on time. Same thing if they go back to Brazil sometimes to
mm-hmm.
finish up their career. Paychecks not coming through or not clearing timely, et cetera, et cetera. While because there is no threat of relegation here, those things are clearing all day. There's no team actually in like financial issues in that sense. So that helps as well. Plus, it's just we are America. right? And for so long, it was the destination for a lot of people. It's Hollywood, right? If you're talking about LA, but um, a lot of people's favorite TV shows and movies are made here in America. A lot of people's favorite musicians reside in America, right? So like it becomes a destination for people all around the world, and that's helping as well. We'll see if that continues over the next couple of years, but it is something that currently is has been helping. But I do think Messi has opened the door for it. I do think we are starting to get to a lot more of these bigger names coming over consistently, more consistently. Like we had Olivier Giroud drop in
Yeah.
for half a season, and
Gareth Bale.
so Gareth Bale, right? They didn't
Got some
stay here
golfing.
for super long, but those players have come over and attempted it.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you look back, we have some of the biggest stars that have ever played the game. Thierry Henry has played here. Wayne Rooney
Yeah.
has played here, right? But now I feel like when you got once you got Messi, who is the greatest of all time, it is like it legitimizes it a lot more than some of these other leagues that have tried to do the same thing.
And another I think another point to that is what he's shown is that his image, his likeness, his wealth, his brand, Jordan, his brand is intact, and he will once again be the big storyline heading into another World Cup when many thought he was done, but it looks like he's going to play in this US based World Cup, and he will once again be the story of the World Cup. And so I think it's shown other players, while I don't think they sit around a ton and think about that, but they definitely think about their pockets, and their brand's not been hurt by coming to the US. And in fact, if they can continue to grow this game, they know that there is a untapped potential, I think, in some of these markets and some of these brands and companies in the US where they make way more money than a lot of those brands that might be in Europe, where, like Kellogg's is coming in and throwing money in Gatorade and, all of those big players in the US that are big Fortune 500, Disney. Like you're having these big companies sit here waiting to invest their money. And once that money gets going, once again, the US will it's just it's fact of the economy, fact of the business is that the world's biggest economy, the two biggest economies, Asian markets and the US is that I think that there's so much money that is untapped in MLS, and I think that's always going to be a draw for players. It's always, they can say it's not, but it's a lot of do with money. Like this is
That
generational wealth
is,
we're talking about.
and like you said, when we're talking about markets too, it's not just the city themselves, but because we are a nation of immigrants,
Yes.
almost every type of country has representation here, has a
Yep.
culture here. That when a player like Sun comes over, there are Koreans that will go
Yep.
see Sun specifically. So he can almost feel, I don't know if that's the case in Saudi Arabia. I
Right.
don't.
No.
I don't know
Oh,
enough about it, but
100%.
I don't
No.
think so,
Yeah.
right? So like
No.
you're gonna almost feel like you're home away from home in the sense of, hey, look, these are people that have immigrated here from there, or they have descendancy here,
Yeah.
and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Speak the language, are
Yeah,
from
so
the
like
area. Yep.
he could go to a city that has very good uh representation that way. Same thing with and that extends to every single
Yes.
country player here. If Virgil van
Messi in
Dyke
Miami,
decided to
right?
come here, right? Like
Yeah, he's got to go to Kansas City and hang out with all
he
the
could go
Dutch
somewhere
that
that
are
has a lot of Dutch play. Pennsylvania has a lot of
right.
Dutch people,
Pennsylvania Dutch,
like
baby. He's
yeah,
gonna
there
be
you
hanging out in
go.
Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Uh that's the type of stuff that can happen. We see it all the time when the US plays against like El Salvador
Yeah,
and
it's
Mexico
true.
and stuff like that. So
Italians go to New
that
York.
is something that
A
is,
lot of
I think, very
Italians.
unique to here, where may not have been the case in China and Saudi Arabia, and why those countries end up maybe not having that option to get the stars as much is because it's almost like a novelty. They show up for when the star is there and then end up maybe not sticking around in the sense of maybe they only go see the games with Neymar. But this league does sell out games that Messi is not playing in. And, we have markets and there is like I said, there's like a Chinatown in every country that exists in every city that exists in this country. And with that, there's also little like pockets of Italians and
Mhm.
Dutch and Germans and
Yeah.
Koreans and Japanese and everything. So like it works out where their biggest stars can come over here and still get like a hero's welcome, but not enough so where they get bothered while they're walking down the street.
Right. Yeah.
And of course the money. It's always the answer.
Money's nice.
Okay, I guess let's look ahead of the matches that we have coming up here. We have this Saturday, we have Montreal and Austin, Columbus, New England, DC, Miami, Cincinnati, NYCFC, Philly, Chicago. Those are all at 7:30. Then we have Dallas, LAFC, Houston, San Jose, Nashville, Orlando. Those are at 8:30. Nashville, Orlando is huge, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say more because you might pick that as your game of the week. But anyway, RSL 9:30 versus Minnesota, Vancouver, St. Louis. Then at 10:30, LA, Galaxy, Colorado, San Diego, Portland. On Sunday, we have a 4 o'clock, a 7 o'clock, and a 9:15. We have Atlanta, Toronto, Charlotte, Red Bull, and Seattle, SKC. One thing I want to highlight too is we forgot to talk about it. Luciano Acosta left Cincinnati to go to Dallas, and now has left Dallas to go to Fluminense. So, hope that was worth it, Dallas. Just crazy. And then also, Portland lost a player to the same club as well. But fans were happy to see him go. Okay, game of the week, Logan, for Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, well, I mean, you spoiled it for me.
Sorry.
Nashville and Orlando City, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. That's going to be exciting. That's
Third and fourth.
Third and fourth. Yeah,
Same point.
tied at 47. This is a massive, massive game for both teams. It's in Nashville, so I'm not feeling great because Nashville's always been pretty good at home. And looking at their record this year, they've got 9 wins there. So they're very difficult to beat in Geodis. Hani Mukhtar starting to play like the Hani Mukhtar of old. It's funny, Jordan. I've been collecting sports cards. I've been watching, and I got into a break of MLS, which was pretty cool because I've got some legends on some autographs. But they were talking, and he was from England, and he was like, I asked him, I was like, hey, in the chat, I was like, "Are you Atlanta United fan?" He's like, yeah. But he goes, I like watching all the teams in this league. And I was like, that's pretty cool that you watch it. And he was watching Premier League as it's all going on. But he was like, yeah, I do support MLS, but mostly but he goes, I'll tell you what, there's one player in particular I'm very impressed with. And he goes, it's Hani Mukhtar. Like, who is this guy? He always pops up in these packs. He's always sold well. Like, who is this dude? I'm like, yeah, I mean, for a guy that he's not going to get the attention of like a Messi or a Son or even some of the bigger marketed players. Hani Mukhtar is the guy. I mean, that he is incredible at what he does. He's done it for years. He's led this Nashville team to be one of the better teams in the league. I'm pretty high on Nashville heading into the playoffs. They've always played well defensively. They've only allowed 31 goals. So Orlando City, while they've scored a lot of goals, do tend to struggle against good defensive teams. I don't feel good about it. If I had to predict, I would think Nashville would win this game. But maybe we're headed for like a 1-1 draw. It's usually how these big games go. But that's my pick for game of the week.
All right. This is tough. Because that's like the best
You're
one.
going Montreal, Austin, aren't you? I
almost jokingly said DC, Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a tough stretch of games this week. Oof.
I'll go with dang.
Not many good
I'll
ones
go
on
San Diego, Portland. I feel like San Diego has been playing out of their mind. Portland's in a playoff spot right now. I think that is like the next best group of teams you're gonna find. Other than maybe Chicago, Philly, but Chicago's a wild card team. Portland's in 6. So Portland is in 6. San Diego is leading the West and is leading the Supporter Shield right now. Can they keep it up with just the 7 games to go? That's where it really all comes down to. I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out. That's 10:30 at Snapdragon Stadium. Okay, how about shame of the week? Did you already pick it with Montreal, Austin?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. Montreal, Austin, even though Austin's a wild card team right now, any game that includes Montreal is not exciting for me. They're just a mess. So yeah, I'll give that the shame of the week. That's just not. Those are 2 not so good teams that are playing against one another.
And I'll go with Houston, San Jose. All right, San Jose under Bruce Arena. We thought they were going to be good. They've made some great moves in the offseason. They're a wild card team right now. They're in 9th. But Houston, who's also had a good stretch recently in the last few years, is under Ben Olsen or however long it's been, last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was. It all melds together. But now they're 12th, and they're below Dallas, and they're right above SKC. It's not going well right now for Houston. So, look, they're only 3 points off of San Jose, so there is a little bit of that intrigue as well when you're looking at, can they maybe squeak in there? But other than that, it just doesn't really seem like there's a lot of interest with these 2 teams. Unless you're a Houston or San Jose fan.
And if you are, I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
That about wraps us up, I guess. That was a lot of catch up. We didn't really go over the results from last week. That's mainly because I didn't want to acknowledge the Red Bulls beating Philadelphia. So we will not.
Why not?
Damn, I just not acknowledge it.
But
yeah, we're not going. Did you see their post, by the way?
Whose?
Red Bulls.
No. Saucy.
No, just sad, honestly.
just sad. Really
All right,
sad.
so to set this up, they had not beaten the Union, I guess, there for a while. I guess I saw it somewhere before. Oh yeah. The summer we broke the 7-year drought. And then it says, the summer we beat Philly. The summer we beat Philly. It's all these pictures of them celebrating their win where it says, the summer we beat Philly. It's blurred. Look, I know I said earlier about celebrating stuff. But this seems a little sad. It just seems a little sad that like that's their biggest highlight. They're like, we broke a 7-year drought of beating this team. Congratulations. It's just kind of a weird post, I feel like, but whatever. I don't hate Red Bulls the way other Philly fans do. It's just seems like a weird post to make after 7 years of.
I mean, it's obviously a play on the summer.
The summer I turned pretty, yeah.
Yeah. But the Red Bull has not been pretty for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Like, and the other part that's funny is that I love these accounts that do this because it's not the players obviously tweeting this; it's their social creative team. So it's like, dude, ouch! Like, I don't know.
Like they're taking those celebration pictures, thinking it might say like, "We won,"
yeah.
But and then it's like almost this thing that I saw people clowning on online. I'm like,
yeah.
But look,
And
it's a
those,
rivalry. They can celebrate with beating a rival. It's all fine. It just
yeah,
seemed like I don't know.
those social teams too, man, they've gotten pretty savage. And they're always around the team. It's not like they won't ever talk to these people again. So it's like,
Yeah.
you're making fun of me.
All right. Well, that'll wrap us up at Stateside Show on all of our social medias. You can leave us reviews on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can leave us comments or likes on the YouTube video if you're watching there. But thank you all for watching and listening along. We'll catch you next time.